So that worked. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Kay Peterson. I'm present. I'm the chair.
Steve Krufskall, member.
John Quackenbush, member, also present.
Very good. Are there any changes proposed to the agenda?
No.
Okay, and we have no citizens, so we will not have citizen comments. Our first item today is to review the budget and approve it if we approve. And then we'll submit it to the town administration. Jason, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so Karen and I worked on this yesterday, and then she worked on getting it finalized today. She was a rock star in this, by the way, because there was a lot of questions she had to run by Carl and just a few details she had to polish up on. So it should be good now. Really, the only things notable on the budget is we had to work in my salary for next fiscal year, of course. So that was added to the permanent staff line. And we also had to account for Karen and Linda's salary, adjustments for July 1. So that's all accounted for in the permanent staff line. And then the only other piece that changed was, we had to account for our public health nurse, TBD. And she was accounted for in the professional services line because there was already an extra $100,000 there. So if you guys have copies of that budget, I think there's copies on the drive. You'll see there's an extra 50,000 accounted for in that professional services line. It was already there. It wasn't added or anything. We just had to account for it for the nurse, if and when that does materialize. Other than that, nothing really changed. That's about it. Nothing else exciting. Happy to answer any questions or
Yeah, I have a couple.
sure.
Tell me about longevity. It's the third item down.
That, as far as I know, just has to, so Karen, would be the only one in our department who qualifies for longevity. I don't know what the threshold is, time served wise. She may know the answer to that, but basically all that is she gets an extra X amount of dollars every year just because, she's been here for 10 years.
Okay,
Is that also partly because she doesn't get a step increase anymore because she's at the maximum highest step? Is that a way to?
Not necessarily, because even once she's maxed her steps, she'll still get the cost of living increase every July 1.
Mhm.
That's just kind of an extra bonus on top of it. And that's just it's not a health department thing. It's just every tenured town employee gets that.
today Linda brought up the fact that Carl Warnicki was having difficulty finding her an adequate desk to work on. What she has currently seems inadequate. And do we have a line item where we can budget the purchase of a desk for her should the town fail to find one?
We
Continue.
do, and actually I'm happy you asked that, Steve, because we're working on it as we speak. I actually talked to Chris today to get the green light to go ahead and do that. So we're gonna pick out a bigger desk for her because I know you've been in the office a few times in the past week or so. She has a tight space over there. It's there's barely enough for elbow room. So in order for her to look at plans or do whatever she's doing, she definitely needs a little bit more space. So I'm happy to do that and get her something where she's a little bit more comfortable and just has room to work. So we're actually looking to get that ordered as soon as Monday when we're all together again. So we should be good on that.
Are you satisfied with your accommodations?
Yeah, so far so good. I have my area in the back there, and we have the separate desk on the side where I can spread out and review septic plans and just have a little bit more space. So I'm good. I'm easy, so don't worry about me.
Were you to be invited to some remote conference or what have you that you could view from the office, one or more of you, is there a need for a large monitor within the office?
I don't think so. I mean, anything I'm doing conference or Zoom wise, I can do right on the surface that I'm on right now. So shouldn't be any issues there. Yeah, and I mean, I have plenty of privacy and space where I'm at in the back. So, um, and even if it's something where I'm doing an all day seminar or conference or something, chances are I'll either be doing it from home or at whatever the physical location is anyway. So, no, I don't think it's a need really.
Okay. John, any questions?
No, makes perfect sense and it looks really good. So thanks to you and Karen for pulling this together.
There is just one piece I want to add before we moved on to the next agenda item. Kay and I met with Chris earlier this week. And I don't know if this is something that's been discussed previously, but there was discussion regarding giving a salary bump to Linda. Basically bringing her to what she would be at next July 1 anyway, and giving her that increase effective immediately. And the context and background of that is at some point they did a survey or went around to the different towns and looked at what everyone was making, all the different admins, all the different whoever, and they determined that where she was at now was below market. So in order to rectify that as soon as possible, that's kind of the crux. We wanted to do it ASAP to make sure she was, in line with what other surrounding towns were at. So I don't know if that's, something you guys need to all vote on and approve, or if you guys are just all in agreement that it's okay for us to do that. So I just wanted to add in that detail too, because that's kind of what I think initially prompted this meeting, if I'm not mistaken, Kay. So I just want to make sure I put that out there as well. So she's effectively getting a $2 an hour bump, which I think is great. I'm of course all for that. I'm all for, taking care of employees and, making sure people are happy. So the sooner we can do that, the better, in my opinion. So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that as well.
So we do need to vote on it. So the proposal then would be to give Linda a market rate adjustment that would begin earlier than the original. So the original plan was for an increase next July 1st with a new fiscal year, but to instead give her that increase January 1st and not wait till that increase July 1st.
And do we have to get approval from the town, from Chris Dwally, from anybody to do it?
No, as long as we approve it, they're fine with it.
All right, do we have a dollar amount we have to specify? I just want to make sure we do this right.
Yeah, I have it in. Hang on a second. I have it nearby here.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jason. I like people to be well taken care of, especially people who are putting in the time and working hard.
Yeah, I mean, Linda and Karen, and I've said this many times, maybe not to you guys necessarily, but I'm sure Case heard me hear it or heard me say it. They're the backbone of the office, and all of this would fall apart without them. So, I really count on them, and they're really the glue that holds this whole thing together. So whatever we can do for them, I'm all for. So
And it turns out that about 15% of the positions in the town are under market at this time. And they're proposing
Just 15?
just 15, and they're proposing that all 15, I mean, all those people be brought up to market. So specifically, her current hourly rate is $24.49, and the market rate that they would bring her up to would be $26.31.
Would she still be getting the same COLA rate raises at the same time that everyone else does?
Well, so you mean July 1st at the next?
Whenever COLA raises are given
Yeah.
to other town employees, would she
So-
also be getting them?
Yes, this market adjustment, though, this is the amount that she would get next July. And what the town would like to do is to, instead of waiting for July 1st to bump her up to 26.31, that they would bump her up now, 6 months early. So she would not get another increase July 1, because this is the July 1 increase given early.
That, is it the COLA increase that people would have ordinarily gotten?
I assumed that Chris did not specifically say that.
Well, we certainly should define that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense not to give her the cost of living increase July 1st. Right? I mean, if we're adjusting her salary to be equitable with where it should be, then if we don't give her that cost of living increase, then she ends up being dropped below equitable again.
Right. I just assumed that would be part of it, but maybe it's, it's possible it wouldn't be. So could we pass a motion that that's contingent upon the assumption that she get the COLA increase, that this 26.31 includes the COLA increase? And that if it doesn't, that would be added on?
No, I think the way you do it is that she gets the same COLA increase all other town employees get at the same time.
Yep.
Okay. So let me just try out the wording then. Or do you want to try it, Steve? Do you want to try drafting a motion? Did you say no? Come on. You can't come.
I mean, I'd have to look at it on
Right.
paper.
Right.
So the increase is $2,631.
No,
per year?
26. No, it's $26 and she's going to go up to $26.31 per hour.
Okay, so
Hourly
I
rate.
move that we approve an increase for Linda's salary to $26.31 per hour, with the understanding she will be eligible for a cost of living increase with other town employees effective July 1st.
Maybe to the extent that other town employees are July 1st.
Okay, so I move that we increase Linda's salary. We approve an increase of Linda's salary to $26.31 per hour,
Effective January 1.
effective January 1, with the understanding that if other town employees also receive a cost, whose salaries are being adjusted, also receive a cost of living increase, Linda would also qualify for a cost of living increase effective July 1st.
Second.
Close enough.
Close enough.
And then
to-
when the time comes, we're just gonna have to, if they don't automatically give it to her, we should just advocate for her.
All right. So that was a second, Steve,
Yeah.
correct? Jackie. All right. Do we want to do a roll call vote on this?
I'm sure if you want.
All right. Kay Peterson voting aye.
Stephen Kresgal, aye.
John Quackenbush, aye.
Okay. All right. Anything more about that, about the budget or Linda? Okay. So I'd like to talk about the Board of Health office hours. When we interviewed Jason and hired him, the understanding was that he would be working on Fridays. And my understanding, although I don't know that we ever discussed this as a board, we may have, was that we would then have the Board of Health office open on Fridays. Jason did his first Friday last week, and do you want to report on about how busy you were on Friday? Tell us the story.
Yeah, so I came in, I didn't really know what to expect, obviously. I know a lot of the other offices in the townhouse aren't there on Friday, so I didn't really know what to expect going in. I think when I got there, I was one of only 2 cars in the parking lot. I maybe had one person come in when I was there for a couple of COVID tests. And the phone rang maybe once.
And what was that call? Do you remember?
I think it was someone asking about COVID tests. Pretty uneventful Friday. I figured I'd at least do it for a few weeks and get a bigger sample size just to kind of get an idea of if it definitely was value added having someone there.
It's a tough time of year to make that assessment.
That's true. But yeah, obviously I'm more than happy to do whatever you guys are asking of me, because that's what I'm here for. So I guess it's up to you how you guys want to handle Friday. I know Linda and Karen have basically been here and working under the understanding that they wouldn't be working on Fridays. So I basically made it clear to them that, listen, if anyone has to be here Friday, it'll be me. I'm not gonna all of a sudden come in guns blazing saying, sorry, Karen, you got to work Friday now. So I was kind of just like, it'll either be me there for a few hours or it'll be no one. And I mean, it's, wouldn't be a day off, obviously, whether I'm working a few hours from home, doing emails, reviewing a plan at home, or taking calls, whatever the case may be, whatever you guys think is best. So, Steve.
Well, I think the town, various departments of town have been moving toward what you would call a 4-day work week for some time. I'm not sure what it says on our website. I forgot as to our Friday hours. We no longer have our hours posted on our door, but I just as soon have a 4-day work week, be constant with most of the other departments in town. And Jason, if you should have a role in Friday, it can be remote.
Do you, Steve, do you feel, and John too, and Karen, all of you, do you feel that, well, let me back up and say that I used to think that we were doing something of a disservice to the people of the town by not being there on Friday morning when other offices were open. But I have to say that hearing about Jason's experience last Friday, I know it's an N of one, but it's it was dead. And Karen has always said to me that there are very few calls that come in on Friday that are left on the voicemail. And though I used to check the voicemail on Fridays, I've stopped because I never once encountered a message that needed to be addressed. So with Karen's blessing, I stopped that ritual.
Well, but you also recognize that people maybe don't call because they expect the office to be closed, right? So it's kind of a chicken and egg problem, right?
Chicken and egg problem, absolutely. But it's compounded by the fact that the other chickens aren't laying eggs. And what I mean by that is that Karen pointed out the other day that, the contractors who come in often come in wanting to stop in the building department and the Board of Health and Concom at the same time. Oh, I love that. That's and that as a consequence, it's not going to be particularly a draw to them to come in just to see somebody in the Board of Health
Yeah.
if the other inspectional services people aren't around. So here I'm hemming and hawing about this, but what I'm wondering is if we should not try to see what happens being open during December, because you're right, it's really an anomalous month. And that we think about whether we should do an experiment in the winter sometime and see what happens. But we would want to maybe change our hours on the website and on the door in order to let people know. But I'm not even sure that's worth it. But I certainly am in favor of deferring any experiment we might do.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes perfect sense. Now is not the time to be doing an experiment. Everything dies in December, quiets down. I don't know when building and a lot of well drilling and septic licenses happen. I suspect the more we get this automated and online, the less demand there's going to be for in-person contact anyway. So it really makes sense just to defer this for a while and maybe look in the spring and see how it goes.
Karen, what are your thoughts?
I would agree. I don't know that we need to have Fridays at all, only because I've explained, planning's not there, Concom's not there. Building, Walter, there's no inspector there. I think the administrative assistant sometimes comes in on Friday, but she's full-time. And if you want to see in the springtime, that would make more sense. It would be busier then, but remember that we never had inspectional services in the summer or late spring and summer because Mike never came in because he was always heading to the Cape. So I imagine, people, whatever the hours are, that's what they'll get used to. You tell them you're there at 8:30, then they're used to 8:30. If you tell them you're there, some offices are at 9, they know 9. So I think that it would be most efficient to do the 4 days and not worry about the half day on Friday. It was never an inspectional day, and it was more of a quiet sneak in, don't tell anyone you're there to catch up on work day.
Okay, so we have consensus about that.
Actually, we don't. Karen just suggested that we go to 4 days. I feel we should as well, and just advertise when we're open.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the key here. We can go any direction we want. We just need to make sure it's clearly posted and communicated, whether it's, these are our definitive hours, Monday through Thursday. On Friday, if you need to get a hold of a staff member, here's Jason's email and work cell phone number, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that's good. All right.
Does that require a vote? Motion?
All right, yeah, it does. Let's do a motion.
I'll make a motion that we have a 4-day work week, that we fully advertise what those hours are during those 4 days, and that Jason be available on Fridays remotely for questions and certainly for emergencies, as we all are.
Yeah.
For emergencies.
It's a 4-day work week for the office.
Second.
Because Jason is a full-time employee.
Mhm.
Okay.
I second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye, Kay Peterson.
I, Stephen Krusko.
I, John Quackenbush.
All right,
I talk about the hours.
sure.
So the question is whether you're open at 8 or 8:30. Karen probably has some thoughts about that. I've heard some people's thoughts.
Well, if you want it open when anyone is in the office, like one person could be in the office, then some days it could open at 8, some days at 8:30. If you want to be sure at least one person's in the office. If you want to make sure that there's the inspector with at least one administrative assistant, then it might be, it would be shorter. Right now, we posted 8:30 to 3:30. Because 8:30 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday, I'm in the office, and 3 of those days you have a lot of coverage with Linda. So I know I'm there, and then Jason may be in the office, maybe out in the field, but I would be there. So unless something unusual happens, you always know that someone's there, 8:30 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday. Jason may be there later if you want to do, if it's enough that one person is available in the office. And the sign already on the door says, list Jason's work phone and his email if he's not available, how to get in touch with him. But it doesn't say yet office closed on Friday.
What time does buildings and ground open?
The building itself is opened by Carl Warnick at 7 a.m.
No, what time does the Avalon's office open?
His hours, when he's in around 7, but he's out in the field or doing inspections sometimes 7 to 9, and then his office will be open. His assistant comes in either 9 or quarter of, something like that.
What time does Concom open?
They want their hours starting at 9:30. So now they open 9:30 to, they're open 9:30 to 3:30. They have less hours than we do. Yeah. Every office is different.
Well, I think we can live with 8:30 to 3:30.
I like it too, because I think it's, unless there were some reason to have it always open later or always open earlier, I don't see the point. I mean, that's a lot of hours for people, and I think Jason needs the flexibility to schedule field visits whenever that works out, and to lock him into being in the office at a certain time when it's not clear that there's much value added to that. Doesn't make sense.
So let's go with 8:30 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday,
Yep.
and we're closed holidays.
And Jason on call on Friday mornings.
Yeah, so
That okay, Jason?
I'll make myself available the typical Friday 9 to 1 townhouse hours, and yeah, and just, when I leave on Thursday, I can just bring home anything I may need for, if there's any plan or anything I'm reviewing, I can just, make sure I have everything I need for Friday, and I'll be all set.
And you know how to access the phone remotely for messages.
I don't, but typically for me, I've never even seen my desk phone ring. Every call I get comes to the mobile, so I don't know if it's much of a issue for me, unless you want me specifically checking
Well, certainly not
Linda and
hourly.
Karen's messages as well.
Certainly not hourly, but the question is, should you be checking Friday before you call it a day? The regular line that's 0032 and extension 8.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly easily set that up and just, last thing on Friday, check it one last time just to make sure there's no pressing emergency or
Yeah.
anything urgent, and then, at that point, call it a weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea.
So this is related to it, what we're just talking about. Are you using your own cell phone? If so, are you getting reimbursed, and would it make sense to get you a town phone?
So there's actually a town phone that Mike basically passed over to me. It's
Okay.
a Samsung Galaxy.
Is that the one you're using or using your personal phone?
I try not to use my personal phone just because I like to keep things as separate as I can.
Okay, then the question comes up, since the town has had problems with coverage. Is it now to the point where it's adequate for you, no matter where you are in town?
Not at my house.
Oh, you're talking reception wise, Steve?
Talking about reception with the phone they've given you.
I've never had an issue in any of my travels around town.
Well, I'll point you in a couple directions and we'll see.
Or I don't know, maybe I'm just used to the Cape where you have no service anywhere. So I think everything around Dover is just gravy.
Huh.
But no, the phone Mike gave me is great. I had a flip phone in my last town, so it's a huge upgrade, and he has every contact in it under the sun for every installer, every engineer. So
That's
it's kind of
good.
nice because I know exactly who's calling. I know how to get a hold of anyone. So it's pretty nice.
Good. Should you have problems with certain areas of the town, such as the Donnellys, just let us know. Don't just bear it. We'll
Is there
speak up.
something to do about it, Steve?
Yeah, you can push people, put in repeaters in the town or an additional tower. That's been an ongoing controversy. No, nobody wants a tower in their backyard.
Mhm.
I wish they'd put in a tower. I live near the Donnellys, and yeah, I mean, the service here is just,
Yeah, where you are is pretty atrocious, John.
All right, folks, are we ready to move on?
yeah.
Okay, so we are going to go into executive session. The purpose of that will be to consider the filing of criminal complaints. We're going to, we are not going to reconvene after our executive session. We will take a roll call now, agreeing about whether we will go into executive session, and then you all have the Zoom information for that second meeting, correct?
Yes.
So would someone make a motion that we move to enter executive session?
I
Please.
make a motion that we adjourn this meeting and enter into executive session.
Second.
Okay. So see you in the executive
Can
session.
you just do a roll call vote that's required for
Oh,
executive?
yes, thank
session?
you, Karen. Yes. I, Kay Peterson.
Hi, Stephen Kruskall.
Hi, John Quackenbush.
Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.